jump in the back of the pickup truck and join us for a ride back to the good old days.
Are you telling me that you built a time machine?
A nostalgic podcast based on entertainment and memories from the 70s, 80s, and early 90s. Come with us and revisit the best time ever. So jump on your BMX bike, pop a heavy metal tape into your Walkman, and hang on tight while you go back to the past with us.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious, and don't call me Shirley.
Hey y'all, welcome to Pastimes at 80s High. Got another great one for you today. We are going to do our top 10 sitcoms. And this is not of all time, but we did go back to, we're doing 1999 and prior, as 25 years old is considered vintage or nostalgic. So that's how we're going to do the ruling today. And I did want to get something out there that I haven't talked about on Pastimes yet, but we do have another sidecast called Preachers of the Night, which you will find under the Pastimes umbrella, which is a Kiss-centric podcast, although we may get some other bands in there as well down the line. However, we're going to get started right out of the gate today, but before we do, I wanted to give you guys our email address if anyone would like to reach out. Because on the latter mentioned Preachers of the Night, we're going to start a little thing where, we're going to get some of the audience involved. So our email is pastimes@80shigh@gmail.com, and that is pastimes@80s. And hope you enjoy this one. It's going to be a fun one, and today we are going to get started right out of the gate with Dungo.
Hey, everybody. It's good to be back.
Yeah.
Starting it off, so I'm a little cold, so I kind of want to just chat a little bit about, we're going to be talking about sitcoms, and it was really hard to kind of narrow it down because there's so many good ones to choose from.
Yes.
And I went with, which ones did I watch, which ones kind of were in, that I was watching when I was younger. And it may not have been in syndication, or, the time frame was not kind of applicable to me, other than, because I lost the 90s. I was away in the military, and,
Sure.
the 90s is kind of a lost decade for me, but yet I did watch some of the shows from that decade after the fact.
Yeah, later on.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So it is hard to kind of narrow it down.
Oh, this was so hard.
Yeah. So I'm going to start with one that I did watch a lot as a young adult, and that is Family Ties, which was 1982 to 1989. There was 172 episodes, 7 seasons, and that's how I remember Michael J. Fox as his probably defining role. A lot of people go to the movies, and
Back to the Future
is kind of like his movie defining role, but this was his television defining role, and it's kind of like a good family sitcom where the mom and dad were hippies. Michael J. Fox was like a young conservative, and it was like the 60s, 70s transitioning into the 80s, and it was a good dynamic, and watching him he was a great character to watch growing up.
Awesome.
Alex P. Keaton.
Yeah.
Alex P.
And
Keaton.
Justine Bateman, who was the sister of Jason Bateman, she was kind of hot and smoking.
Mallory.
So.
And the dad
Tina
on that
Yothers,
show.
not so much.
He was
right. The dad was hilarious,
Yeah.
I thought. He had the best dry humor. Oh, great pick,
he did.
Donald.
Yeah.
Awesome. So that's number 10 to you, Kev?
All right, so I have a 500-way tie for number one. There's just, like Donnie
Number
was
10.
saying, there's so much out there that you could choose from. I just really tried not to overthink about it and think about the shows that I watched consistently. And one of the first ones that came to mind was obviously in syndication because it went off the air shortly after I was born, but it was on in the afternoons when I got home from school or whatever else. It was written by Mel Brooks and Buck Henry. And the idea came because James Bond and Inspector Clouseau were huge at the time. So they were tasked with writing a spy comedy show, which of course was Get Smart with Don Adams.
Yeah.
And
That was a
it
great
was
show.
just such a great show. A lot of accolades for the opening bit where he was walking through all the doors, but all of that, spy stuff and to goof on it was just great. And then of course they had all of the great catchphrases that Don Adams has. Missed it by that much. Or would you believe a pack of Boy Scouts and a rabid Chihuahua?
That I might believe.
An old lady and an angry poodle.
Right.
We've got the National Guard. We've got you surrounded. No, you don't. Would you believe?
Exactly.
Just
what
great
an
stuff.
awesome
And
show.
also, I mean, futuristic because he had the first cell phone. It was just in his shoe.
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's all right. Yeah.
All right. Great pick. Awesome show too, man. Number 10 to you, Mark.
Well, first of all, one thing I need to say is, unlike Donnie, these are a lot of the shows that I watched when I was older. Donnie, of course, it's when you were younger. This is the oldest you've ever been. Sorry, obviously, yeah. Anyway, I picked Night Court. That was one of those must-see shows.
Good one.
It was just an absolute riot. That was the hint I was trying to give you when I was playing the song on your acoustic.
The bass line's great.
Yeah.
Boom, bam.
Yeah.
Boom, bam.
Great.
Do. So anyway, it's based in the courtroom. Obviously, you had Marky Post as the the
Public defendant kind of thing?
public defendant, and then John Larroquette.
Defender, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and John Larroquette was the
He was great.
Prosecutor.
prosecutor, and I never could understand his sex appeal, but he got laid more than friggin'
It doesn't matter what you look at.
Paul Stanley.
It matters how you conduct yourself.
and
And he had confidence.
And one of my favorite parts of the show was when this guy was 100 years old, being charged with something. I don't remember what it was, but he comes up with these three hotties, and he says, "My secret is I swim 10 miles a day, eat 100 oysters," and then he drops dead right there. So that was pretty funny. I loved the killer intro, and Bull. He was so funny.
He was cool. Yeah, he was cool.
He was an absolute riot, and I remember there were rumors of spam balls down at the cafeteria.
All right.
I'll bring it to AJ, but I
Awesome.
loved that show.
That was great.
It was a great show.
Great
That
show.
was definitely tossed around in my list.
Yeah. So my number 10, I wouldn't say is a comedy per se, or at least this was not a out loud laughter show, but I had to put it on my list because it was a staple in my life, and that's the Brady Bunch.
Oh, all right.
Definitely a comedy.
I thought I was getting a little nervous. You're going to pick Batman, and I was going to have to really put a fight up.
Anyway, just coming home from school and watching that show, it was on TBS every afternoon, and it was just relatable. Of course, that was not even close to my family or anyone else's
Nobody's
family
family,
on
yeah.
the planet.
No, I disagree. The McDonald family, Steve and John. That reminded me every time I went over to play with Steve and John of the Brady Bunch. Yeah, that was the Brady Bunch. So yeah, they did exist.
But what can I say about the Brady Bunch? Everyone knows it, and I had to take it. So I will leave it at that and go to you, Dongo, for
you
number
definitely
9.
I was going to say there's so
Number
many
9?
phrases that
yeah,
came from that
oh my
that
goodness.
are in everyday life.
Oh, yeah.
Everyday
talking about the people that, none of us had that lifestyle. It's kind of a burn today to be like, oh, he grew up in the Brady Bunch. Like,
Right,
he has
right.
no idea what it's like to get slapped around or
Yes,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Get the
dad's
belt.
hammered or get the belt or whatever else. It was like, his parents were.
It's all right, son.
Alice
Right.
was so hot too, wasn't she?
Alice.
Oh yeah.
She really was when you took the makeup off her and saw her in real life.
Yeah.
That's why Sam the Butcher was bringing Alice.
Right?
in.
Right.
And she was
And
only
it's funny, you look at
in her late
people-
20s
right,
or early
right.
30s.
They made her
really?
look like an older woman at the time.
Exactly.
But
Yeah.
All right.
She was only 30 something or 29
Yep.
or whatever.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh my God.
Alice.
Yeah.
Then there's the rumors about Greg and Florence Henderson.
Oh, they're not rumors.
No,
they're
that's
not rumors.
Is that true?
That
I
is
don't know.
true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think they hooked up.
Banging his mom.
Yeah. Hey.
Hey, that's a whole bunch of websites these days.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
All right,
All right.
Donald.
So I'm on number 9, but I wanted to back up again to just talk about what makes a good sitcom. And I kind of looked at some things, and there's kind of like 4 things that you can say makes a good sitcom. It's either critically acclaimed, it influences pop culture, has a cultural impact, or it kind of leaves a legacy of some type. This next pick is kind of not really any of the above, unfortunately.
Having said that,
Right.
Good segue, Donnie.
Right. I know this is like a negative segue, but I'm picking for number 9, WKRP in Cincinnati.
Oh, that
Love
was
that
a great
show.
show.
Baby,
I like, yeah.
if you've ever wondered. I mean, I love
It's
the
WKRP in Cincinnati.
see, I always like the outro better.
But I mean, it was just cool. You know, it was kind of just a funny show with
Awesome
good characters.
show.
I mean,
Hell
the
yeah.
characters were what made the show.
Absolutely.
Probably one of the funniest episodes I've ever seen on a sitcom was the turkey
Oh,
episode
absolutely.
when they're dropping turkeys. They're all excited. They're like, "Yeah, this is
humanity."
gonna be great." And he's like, "The humanity! Oh my god!"
What was the hot blonde's name? Lonnie Anderson.
Lonnie Anderson,
Lonnie Anderson.
smoke
Yeah. Oh,
show.
my God.
Yeah, go for it.
No, I was just going to say they did an episode of when the Who, back during the general admission days.
Good old days.
Oh yeah,
I know, but they 4 people, I think, died
Yeah.
being rushed to the stage.
Oh, yeah.
And they actually did an episode of that on the radio.
Oh,
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Great. A lot of them took the real life, seriousness of that. And actually, Kevin brought that up, that down the line, we were talking about maybe doing an episode on the serious moments from a comedy sitcom. You know what I mean?
right, and
The
that's kind of
sitcoms-
what makes it. The critical impact or
Yes,
critically acclaimed.
exactly.
Yeah. when they tackled the tough issues
Right.
of the day.
Exactly.
And that's humor. That's what humor is
yeah.
supposed to be.
Yeah.
It's kind of a
Exactly.
satire of the toughness of life.
Now they just have to pussyfoot around. Exactly.
Right.
But yeah, just solid characters. I mean,
Yeah.
from Les Nessman.
He was
to
great.
Herb Tarlick.
Venus flytrap and
Well, who was
Dr.
the,
Johnny Fever.
yeah.
who was the really cool guy?
The
Yeah,
blonde, balding dude with the
Yeah.
mustache.
No, you're thinking, I can't think of his name either, but he was like the station manager.
Oh yeah.
God, I can't think of his name.
Oh, well.
I can see his face perfectly, but
So
Tim
can I.
Reed was Venus Flytrap.
Yep.
Howard Hessman was Dr.
Johnny
Johnny
Fever.
Fever. Gordon Jump with Arthur Carlson, who was like
Arthur
the owner,
Carlson,
and he was
yes.
a great character.
Is
in
that the one you're talking
And then
about?
Gary Sandy was Andy Travis.
Andy Travis.
Andy
That's
Travis.
who I was
All
trying to think.
And
All right,
he was,
hold on.
And he was the young man
Ish.
who was meant to turn the radio station around.
Right.
Like
Okay.
it was a dying AM radio station playing like crappy music.
They went FM,
and he wanted to go FM and improve the rock and roll and
Right.
and
Awesome.
bring it to the public. Kind of
Nice.
thing.
Awesome pick. Number 9 to you,
Number
Kevin.
Number 9. Well, again, going back to the early days of my youth and a show that was off the air about a year before I was born, just iconic. And there's been so many other versions of this, but honestly, none of them hold a candle for me to the 1966 Batman. It was just
Yes.
the greatest show ever. It was so friggin' campy, and
if you could see Mark's face
Mark's
right
gonna
now.
blow a gasket right now. I'm sorry, brother. It's
I'll let you talk for a minute.
okay.
I'll bring it on it.
All right.
I'm with Kev on
So
this one.
just a little bit of the. I mean, it was hilarious.
It was funny.
It was
hilarious.
absolutely
Yeah.
so
Adam West was
goofy in it, and it was the only one. It was the only sitcom on the air at the time that didn't have a laugh track, which was brave and amazing for them. And the other thing I could say about it before I turn it over to Mark, and he beats me to death with his microphone, it was the longest running superhero show all the way up until Smallville.
I did not
in
know that.
07. And that is episode wise, because it was literally only on the air from 66 to 68, but it was on twice a week.
Interesting.
Can you imagine
That is
something
interesting.
of that fun and quality?
So fun.
Because now we get things on, we get series on Netflix, and it's like Shoresy just came out. It was, you waited a year for 6 episodes.
Right,
know,
right.
six
The whole thing's
episodes.
over in 2 nights.
That is the thing where
Yeah.
you look at the episodes and the seasons, but yet it's like some are nowadays
Yeah.
are 10 episodes is like a
These-
normal
it's
season.
Right.
bullshit.
These shows were on the air
Versus
for 2 years, and they had 257 episodes.
Right, because that's the mark of a good show is if you hit
Right.
that 100 episode mark
Yeah.
or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh, what a great pick, man.
All right. So anyway, I'm glad you think that crime is a joke.
Mark's not talking to me anymore.
You know, I'm glad you think that crime is a joke, Kevin.
we
The Riddler was out there
we might have to
wreaking
change-
havoc.
Mark, there's
That,
neighbors.
that was probably the best
The
Riddler.
Joker.
we might have to change seating.
Oh,
Joking aside, seriously, that this is the kid in me talking.
Yeah, I know.
Because when I was a little boy,
Oh, it was everything.
I took the show so seriously, and my dad kept trying to say it was a comedy. And I was so mad at him, you know. And one of my favorite parts was actually in the Batman movie. Batman, Adam West, my favorite Batman.
Absolutely.
He's running around with a bomb, and he finally looks over into the bay, and there's a couple making out on a little rowboat or whatever. And some days you can't get rid of a bomb. You just can't.
Was that before or after he used the shark repellent from
That
his
utility belt was incredible.
It always
Yeah,
seemed
it
to
was
know
incredible.
what was going to happen that day. There was always just the
had
right
the-
thing that he needed.
It was this tiny
had
little belt, but
everything.
everything was in that damn thing.
he had the greatest demeanor too. He was always so calm, like Robin, we're gonna fight this evil right now.
I know, but he
such a
did
calming
Adam
voice.
West. I know he just did it. He played it so like straight but over the top at the same time. And the other thing, and I'm sorry if I'm walking on somebody else has it, but the guests, the villains were just. I mean, what a
That's what I meant. That's
mean-
what I set up for all the movies. It's like I
Yeah.
compare them to that.
right.
show.
From Cesar Romero to
unbelievable.
Burgess
Oh,
Meredith,
Meredith
is
is
a
a
penguin. Frank Gorshin is the Riddler. I mean, these guys are, and then
Vincent
you had
Price.
Vincent
Mr.
Price,
Freeze.
is
Mr.
Egghead.
Freeze, you
He
had,
was perfect.
oh,
Yeah.
Wait, was he Mr. Freeze or was he Egghead?
Egghead. He was
Egghead.
Egghead.
Yes,
I forgot who
Egghead.
played Mr. Freeze.
Wasn't Schwarzenegger.
and then Catwoman.
There was two of them.
Yes.
Julie Newman, and
Julie
what was it?
Newmar was, I mean, oh my God. Newmar.
Love those.
That'll never come up in this episode.
No, not at all.
But yeah, Eartha Kitt was also, and then Batgirl was.
She was mysterious. You just never
She
knew
was
she was going to pop up. I
very-
think she was it the Chief's daughter?
I believe
Chief O'Hara?
Chief O'Hara's daughter. Yeah. So no, not Chief. No, wasn't she?
What was the other
Commissioner
guy?
Gordon?
Commissioner Gordon.
Yeah.
Chief O'Hara.
Barbara Gordon. Yep. Yep.
Barbara
that's
Gordon.
right.
And he was, I mean, talk about like stereotypes. That Chief O'Hara had the thickest Irish brogue that you could. It's like,
Yeah.
Right.
no stereotype there at all. That would play just fine today.
right?
Right.
Oh, man. Awesome. So that's number 9 to you, Mark.
Okay, this is already picked. Get Smart. So incredibly funny. The show basically it's about chaos, spelled K-A-O-S, and control, which is the good guys. And, Kevin talked about some of the catchphrases. You had Jaime on there. Jaime, kill the light. I mean, he was a robot. Missed it by that much.
Oh, yeah.
And there was a great band on that show. I forgot the name of the band, but they had this great song. It went thrill, 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 bang, kill, 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 bound out now.
Was it like a soundtrack or was it a band?
It was a
on the
band
show?
dressed. Oh, they were dressed as cows. What the? Yes. What the? Oh God.
Really?
It doesn't
I'm
matter.
trying to
Dressed
make a
as
vague
cows.
memory of that song.
I don't recall that.
But anyway, there's another part. Well, actually, during that song, friggin' 99 is dancing around like they did in the 60s. So friggin' sexy. Oh my God. And then there's one part of the show where there's one of the guys in Control, 86, who is Maxwell Smart, goes up to the man and says, "We need to use that device that you have right there." It was a
Was it the cone of silence?
Oh, no, actually, it wasn't the cone of silence, but it was just some. I
Like,
don't
did
remember
that
what
spawn the 86 for the restaurant folks here? Like, is that how
No,
you
I
get
think
rid
that
of,
was 86 as a restaurant term goes back to, I mean, the 20s, I think.
Oh, yeah?
So I think calling him 86 was actually a goof on,
right.
right? Like 007,
Yeah.
we'll call him 86.
But getting back to what I was trying to say is that, he said, no, this is top secret stuff, blah, blah, blah. And then 99 goes up all cutesy and hot. And, do you think we could use that? We really could. It's important to us. Oh, whatever you want. Here you go.
Here's the secret stuff for you.
Yeah.
The hot chick always gets
Oh,
what
yeah.
she
And
wants.
there was one other thing in that show that I have to bring up. We were sitting when we lived in Guilford on Farmer Drive watching the show. We absolutely loved it. He was saying something like, well, everything I put in here, it says that this thing is in Littleton, New Hampshire. And we just looked at each other, broke down laughing.
Really?
That they just randomly picked Littleton,
No
New
kidding.
Hampshire.
Oh,
I
that's
tried
fun.
to look up the
I
exact
did
quote.
not know that.
All right, so I am going to change my list a bit here, and I am going to
Hey, is this legal?
86. Get smart. So I am going to.
Nice.
Thank God I had some honorables here, just because we've
You gotta
talked about
have
things
backups.
so much.
I got a ton of them, but I didn't write them down.
But this here, once again, I don't know how popular this was, but my list is stuff that has meaning to me, and takes me back to a special place here and there. I mean, and ironically, this part of my life, it was not a great part, but this was one great part of it. And it was 1986, and the show is Alf.
Willie.
Yeah, exactly. And the reason why is I was living in Hinsdale, New Hampshire, and I just loved this show. And you know what? I actually watched it quite a bit in the last year, and it's still fucking funny to me.
Gordon Shumway.
Gordon Shumway is a riot. And you got the Offmonics next door, and she's always thinking she's crazy, or they all think she's crazy because she's seeing this alien life form. Of course, his favorite meal is cats. But it just, was really special to me. I had a good friend, Chris, one of the few people that I got along with down there. And I think it was Tuesday nights it was on. So every Wednesday at school, we would chat about it. And I don't know if anyone out there hasn't seen it. I mean, is it stupid? Hell yeah. But it's pretty fucking funny.
The character of Alf was spot on.
Oh,
awesome.
yeah, he
Like,
was great.
just a funny, like, if you were going to have an alien land on Earth from another country, it's some, like, eccentric kind of creature that looks cute. And
Yeah.
Well, I think he could also, it was a good device because as a puppet alien, he could say things and get away with things
Yes.
that a human wouldn't get to. But it's funny because I haven't thought really about that show in years.
Right.
And to think that in the 80s, we sat around watching a cartoon puppet that was an
Muppet.
alien. It's
Yeah,
just like,
exactly.
what? But it was a well-done show.
It was super well
It
done.
was
And
hilarious.
Yeah.
And Willie Tanner was also
Yeah.
funny as hell. Super dry, but funny. The dad.
Oh, the dad,
And he
yeah.
was just a riot. So where
didn't
are we
happen.
here? That is, that brings us to number 8 to you, right, Donald?
yes, number 8. And again, I'm sorry, people, I don't want to sing, but I have to sing.
You do what
Because
you
a
gotta
lot of
do,
this
buddy.
stuff is, music, and it's what, good times
Oh,
every time.
yeah.
Yep.
Good times every time you make a payment.
Shucking and a jiving.
Hanging.
Yeah.
Easy credit
Keeping
rip
your
off.
head above water.
Ain't we lucky we got 'em? Good times.
Such an awesome show,
Kid
man.
Dynamite.
Yeah. AJ. That's
So, John Amos, Mr. James Evans.
Oh, yeah.
Just such a good actor. I mean, that dude his facial expressions, the way he portrayed himself as a dad, it was just amazing. And, not to get too crazy but I watched that show because it was a good show.
was a
I didn't
great
watch it because it was
show.
cultural appropriation, blah, 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 blah. No, it was a good show, good characters. I loved it. It was awesome.
Incredible.
Penny with Janet Jackson. Like
Yeah.
I was.
Oh yeah, I forgot about
I
that
love
part.
Penny.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I mean,
But
JJ.
but doesn't that
Willona?
illustrate
Dynamite.
how far backwards we've gone?
oh, backwards. We have
Because
gone backwards.
that show was like, and I've talked about this, and they show interviews like Man on the Street VHS where they're talking to people about racism, and they're all everybody, black and white, everybody in between was like, "No, we cool, man. Everybody's good, right? Everybody, you know, it was, and now we're
Yeah.
in this place where everybody's
Gone
like, "Oh my god!"
Right.
If you, I mean, I comb my
boy.
hair a certain way,
Right.
so I'm culturally appropriate. I'm like,
Right.
what the,
Right.
you know?
It's
And
fucking
back then,
unreal.
it didn't make any difference
Make a
to
difference.
me.
I watched that show
Yeah.
because it was funny.
Exactly,
It
and
was
it wasn't
a
like-
hard-working,
yeah.
blue-collar family trying to make their way in the world, and
Right.
it was funny.
Right.
Damn right.
James
Everything you
Evans,
got.
man, I love
Yeah.
James Evans, and he
And
was
Florida.
great on back, coming to America, and
Oh yeah,
yeah.
What'd you
he's
think of
still with
Sweet
us now.
Daddy?
McDowell's.
Yeah,
Sweet Daddy. Yep.
he's
And
an
Willona?
awesome- he's an awesome,
Willona.
underrated actor. I mean,
Yeah.
he's amazing.
Unfortunately, he died in the show. He must have wanted to go do something else.
Yeah, I think
I
they
hope
wrote
it
him out.
wasn't the Beastmaster.
Yeah. So, I mean, an interesting thing was that show opened out with humongous ratings. Like, it was popular.
Yeah.
And then the network, like, moved its time slot, played, and that decreased its ratings. And you know, it's like, come on, don't mess with a good thing.
Absolutely.
And that might have been the reason why he left the show. But,
And there are a few things, it was a spin-off of a spin-off that I'm not going to get into because someone else might have it. But anyway,
anywho.
See if I can't get all of you mad at me.
Well,
anyway, all right. So awesome. Great show there, man, for certain. Number 8 to you, Mr. Kevin.
Thank you. So number 8, and I fear that I'm going to break the ice of the absolute must-haves here. The
Somebody's gotta do it.
obvious can't be denied.
Yep.
And that would be, it ran from 78 to 82 on ABC and then 82 to 83 on NBC, which is so weird. And
Weird.
looking
Yeah.
into this
Yeah.
stuff, there was a lot of shows that I don't remember that ever happening.
I know,
But
yeah.
at that age, I wasn't really like,
Well, it's in my notes. But anyway,
okay, but it's just strange that, a hit show would change networks.
Yeah,
right in the middle
crazy.
of it, but it's the way it's done. They-
kind of at the end.
production
really.
Say it!
Production companies would make the show and then sell it to the network. It was an amazing show. It was a great ensemble cast, and they had two of the most bizarre comedians of the time on one show.
Yes.
To think of Andy Kaufman and Christopher Lloyd being in the
that
same
one. Yeah.
TV show
Yeah.
with Ladka and Jim Ignatowski on Taxi, and then you had Danny DeVito,
Right.
Oh,
and
my
then
God.
you had
Yeah.
Alex Riga, you
Mary
had-
Lou Henner,
Mary
Tony
Lou
Danza.
Henner.
Yeah.
that was only on for
Absolutely.
5 years, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was just
man.
and it was one of those shows where they were a family.
Oh,
You know what I mean? There
Oh,
was
yeah.
they because they dealt with issues together and whatever. But the greatest scene ever, and I know you're all gonna kill me for this, but when he had to get his license.
Yes.
And he's sitting there and the whole gang is across the aisle from him while he's taking the driver's test. And he looks over to the group and he goes, "What does a yellow light mean?" Yeah. And I think Bobby was the first one. He goes, "Slow down." And he's like, "What does a yellow light mean?"
Oh, it just goes on.
Slow down. What? And it's
One of the
just,
oldest jokes in the book.
oh, it's
Like,
so
but it's
hilarious.
He does
so
it,
funny.
too.
Yeah.
What's that?
Like he does it like 6 or 7
Oh,
times.
I know, and it's
You're
just-
almost getting annoyed watching the
Right.
show.
I know,
right,
but you can't
right.
can't not be in tears laughing because he's so hilarious, and that character he developed that character so much that you just
Deadpan, too.
you
Yeah.
absolutely just
Yeah, they were
loved it.
all
So,
just amazing comedians.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
yep.
Incredible. And I'm not going to say anymore because someone else
Somebody
might have
might
that.
Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So that's number 8, I believe, to you, my brother.
All right. Well, this one, it only actually aired from 55 to 1956. Obviously, I'm talking about a show that spawned the Flintstones, which is the Honeymoon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely. Used to come home every night, me and David, from going out to the Weirs or whatever, and we would watch this, and there was just so many great episodes. You know,
Awesome.
And you know his buddy Norton.
Norton, I know.
Oh, we're not going to go down there. We're not going down that
You're not that
wormhole
Rocky
again.
boy.
But you know,
And I know that you know that I know that you know that you.
Go ahead.
I mean,
Mark.
you just had all these great episodes, like the one when you know he's on a game show and he's so confident he's going all the way to the end, and he couldn't come up with it was always Ed Norton's warm up song on the piano. And he just who plays it? And he finally goes Ed Norton, and you know, of course, he didn't win. And there was a costume contest that he was sure he was going to win. And all of a sudden, Ed Norton comes in. He's got his sewer headgear and all that stuff on his uniform, and you know,
Getting out of work.
yeah, and he ends up winning the costume. And I mean, Cramden's pissed off at first, but then he gets over it. And one of the great things about the show, I mean, they were very dysfunctional.
Oh God.
And
Which
bang,
means normal.
zoom, you're going to the moon, Alice.
Right. Dysfunctional means normal.
Exactly.
basically.
Well, yes. And they, you know, he was always in the wrong, and Alice was always in the right.
Naturally.
I can't forget you, Trixie. You know.
Oh yeah.
And
Heart of an angel.
you know,
Bus
Oh,
driver. He was.
Yes.
Yep. The
Awesome.
quintessential American blue collar worker.
I
Yeah, and
Dust
it was
Abroad.
really
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
it was kind of the basis of everything that came after it too.
right,
I mean,
right.
they like
Yeah.
they set the mold with that
Right.
Oh,
for
yeah.
for
Right.
what a sitcom was.
Right.
Yes.
Exactly.
And
yeah.
the Flintstones was blatant.
Oh, yeah.
Obvious.
Oh, no,
Oh,
that
yeah.
was
Shadow
based
of
on.
it.
It was
Yeah.
definitely based on
right.
homeowners. So.
Well, my brother,
Except Fred was
Brother.
he worked in the
quarry.
in the quarry
For
with,
Mr. Slate.
with a dinosaur, as opposed to driving a bus around New York. But other than that,
yeah.
But anyway, I left that off my list for you, my brother.
Oh, thank you very
Yes,
much.
But I was so happy you had it because it was a tough cut for me. But one thing I do have to say about that show is Chewy chews candy. It's goody good.
Oh,
was
the
an
episode,
awesome episode.
Remember that one where, hey, get a load of fatso.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, I'm going to go get my friend Harvey.
Harvey.
He's even bigger than me. This is my friend Harvey. That wasn't Joe Piscopo's song, actually.
Yes, it was.
Nope.
Okay, so number 8 to me, correct?
That's, yeah.
Yes.
All right. I actually had this high hair at first, but that is a show that I watched every night. I'm pretty sure it was an 8 o'clock sitcom, and you know, then it of course became syndicated, and that's called Three's Company. Just something that was near and dear to me. I loved the show. John Ritter played Jack Tripper, a just talented physical comic, man.
yeah,
Like just so funny to me. Then you had the Ropers at first,
The
and then
Ropers are
Mr.
great.
Furley. You know, obviously nowadays you would, you know, never they couldn't do it nowadays because he was. I mean, they could do it, but not the way they did it.
Right.
with
He'd be
him
banging
being
them.
exactly. Oh, yeah.
Right. It'd be a sex triangle. and-
Exactly.
Yeah.
But just the fact back then, pretending to be gay, you know, now, I mean, every show you watch out there, you know, it's all out in the wide open. But back then, you know, it wasn't, but it was frowned upon for a man to live with two women or
Yeah.
another woman,
Yeah.
you know, pre-marriage. And so they pulled the wool over the Roper's eyes. But something I found really interesting about the show is that,
Don Knotts was in it.
yeah, he was
Yep.
Mr. Furley.
Yeah.
But is that John Ritter was getting $150,000 an episode, and Suzanne Summers was getting $30,000.
Oh, boy.
Right.
And she found out,
that's why
and
she left.
Oh, dear.
yeah, and it kind of the show actually continued for quite a while after that, but
they
it
had-
was
how
just
many-
never.
Yeah, they had like Terry came in later. and there
Terry,
was somebody
Cindy,
else,
who was the numb one.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I know
she
what
was
you're
a bit
talking about.
annoying.
She was rough.
But you know, Suzanne Summers made it up on the Thigh Master a few
Oh,
years
yeah.
later. So
She
Yeah,
looked,
the amazing
she looked good
Thigh
for
Master.
most of her life.
oh, yeah,
Oh, yeah.
exactly.
What was the one she was in? Physical Graffiti with Richard Dreyfuss.
Oh.
She was in that.
Yep.
Which is why she thought she was going to be the superstar. And-
American Graffiti.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Sorry. Yeah, I'm thinking
What
not
did
Led
you-
Zeppelin.
I don't remember her being on that
What
album.
did you call it?
I called it physical
Cashmere.
graffiti, like the Zeppelin album.
I was surprised, Don, you didn't sing the theme to Three's Company. Come and knock on our door.
Come and knock
Yeah,
on
that
our
was a
door.
little.
We've been waiting for you.
All right. Awesome. So we are to number 7.
Number 7. All right. So this is one that probably, I hope, is not on people's list, but it might be. Just a
Doesn't matter, man.
Americana. This is Americana, and it's Happy Days.
Yeah. Yeah.
I got a lot to say about this one.
So this is a show that I watched. Like, it was on TV, and I watched it. Was it
Damn right.
amazing? No, but it was like cool. You know, you kind of
It was
it's on.
fun.
Right. It was fun. I love the character of Fonzie. Like, this guy is just this machismo, cool Italian type of dude. My daughter has a stuffed animal that's called Pinky Tuscadero, which I think is kind of cute.
Don't forget about leather.
Right.
Susie
Ron Howard. I
Quattro.
thought Ron Howard was amazing in this.
Oh, yeah.
You know, Bucko. I used to love. Yeah.
Right?
Listen here, Bucko.
Yeah, it
But
was
it set the
terrifying.
tone. There were a lot of spin-offs off of this, like Laverne and Shirley,
Yeah.
Mork and Mindy. There's just a lot of spin-offs that came off of it.
Yep.
It was just a fun show. Happy, happy days.
Happy
you know?
days. Goodbye, gray
Yes,
sky.
Mark.
Hello,
He's
blue.
He's raising his hand here.
Could I say a few things about this show?
Yeah, go in, dive into
naturally.
it.
I thought it was an incredible show for a long, long time. And in fact, I think there's a saying now called "jumping the shark,"
Yes.
Oh,
And-
interesting. Yeah.
and that Fonzie actually jumped a shark, and
In
they
Hawaii.
they just went down a really strange road. As a matter of fact, they wanted to change the name of the show to Fonzie's Happy Days.
Oh,
Yes.
interesting.
Really?
Yeah, and
Yeah,
you know
'cause
the,
Ron
the
Howard.
cat.
So this is
Ron Howard left
So I missed this.
and
yeah.
did other things.
Yeah.
And because Fonzie got to be such a huge character that he was.
I mean, he
was a
was-
secondary character, but,
but he
he
should have
became
been
the
the
star.
main character.
Well, he
Like,
was. I mean, as a what 6, 7-year-old kid at that time, he was
Getting all the chicks.
the idol. I mean,
Yeah,
he was.
actually.
He,
Right.
hey,
Who is this
in
guy?
real life, Henry
Hey.
Winkler is just a really
Where did he-
unassuming.
Which
Where
is
did
really
Fon-
funny
Yeah.
because
Fonzie
he was
live with the Cunninghams, or
he
did
lived over the garage.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
the
So he was like a
apartment.
roommate. Yeah.
Yeah, high school
He
dropout.
rented from
Yeah.
him.
Right,
Yeah,
he
all
rented
right,
from
yeah.
him. But it was funny too because looking up to him as a kid and thinking, okay, here's this cool, tough Italian guy with a leather jacket, and in reality, Henry Winkler is an unassuming little Jewish.
All of his, all of
yeah,
his other
He's
roles.
an avid,
he's a
avid
meek,
fly fisherman. Too.
Yeah, all of his other roles, he's played a meek kind of
yeah,
Jewish.
yeah, yeah. The
male.
coach
So-
in the coach in
Yeah.
Waterboy. And,
Absolutely.
So what what I wanted to say was I just think they went down a really strange road with like Mork from Ork and
Right.
Beelzebub.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
it
definitely-
they ran out of ideas
Yeah,
and they went
right.
into cheesy supernatural stuff, if you will.
It's like you got to know when to bow out. kinda.
Yeah, exactly.
All post
Yeah.
jumping
Yeah.
the shark.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which is
Hence-
where that
hence-
came from.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Jumping the shark. They did. They solely ran out of ideas,
Yeah.
which is amazing now because when you think about like The Simpsons has been on the air for 9 billion
and
episodes.
they don't age.
And I have,
That baby is still a baby. Let-
Right.
I mean, I think it's probably been 20 years since I watched that show.
I have-
Yeah. Yeah.
But yet they're still pushing out
Yeah.
new stuff. So
Right.
it's
Yeah.
it's
Absolutely.
bizarre that the great writers that they had for
Couldn't
Happy
come
Days
up
just
with
kind of
things.
like, all right, well, what do we do with these characters now?
Exactly.
I
Well,
just
so
Maybe they
Happy
got
Days had
bored.
11 seasons, and doing this research, I noticed that a bunch of shows had 11 seasons. Was kind of it's time to wrap it up.
like the
kind of thing.
peak.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah. I
but
mean, one
that
on
might
my
have been
list.
too long.
7 to me was another one of those just fantastic shows that the characters were so hilarious and relatable. I mean, who didn't love Welcome Back, Kotter?
Welcome.
I mean,
yeah.
it was just I mean, yeah, from
gotta
John
sing it.
Sebastian doing doing the intro to it, and Gabe Kaplan as his character as a former sweat hog,
Yes.
done well, gone back and
Greatest
became the
group name.
teacher.
Yeah.
But I mean, come on, Vinnie Barbarino. Travolta was exploding at that
Right.
time.
Oh,
Exploded.
But
Yeah,
even
definitely, yeah.
but even with that, Ron Palillo or whatever his name is, Jesus, really Horshack
Horseshack.
was like, I mean, he still had an Epstein,
right.
and
the Spanish
Freddie,
Jew.
Freddie,
Puerto Rican Jew.
Let's
Yeah, he was a Puerto Rican Jew.
Puerto Rican Jew. Signed Epstein's mom. Every note was signed Epstein's mom. But just a great cast, and it was fun.
Oh,
and
cast.
it was
Washington.
and it was
Washington.
Yeah, he said it. Freddie
yeah.
Boom Boom.
Oh,
yeah.
you did.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Mr. Katea.
Yeah.
But they were in this gloomy situation
In Brooklyn.
being like
Right. That was a bad
a-
time.
alleged
in that time of year.
alleged
Right.
soon to be high school dropouts. They were making us laugh. They were making humor in that. And the only other thing I want to say about that, I don't know if it's going to come up again, but one of my favorite actors, stand-up comics, had a small role on that. He was the rival Carvelli, and that was Charles Fleischer. And he did this great stand-up bit about mole leads, which if you can find it will blow your mind. But a lot of people don't know that he was also Carvelli was the voice of Roger Rabbit.
Interesting.
Really?
Yeah, that's interesting.
Kitty.
Very
That was a
interesting.
terrible Roger Rabbit, by the way.
Yes.
You have to spit to get it right.
Yeah, right. Awesome pick, Kev. So that's number 7 to you, brother.
All right, I have Family Ties. I absolutely adored that show. I loved Michael J. Fox in that, and I totally agree with you guys that Michael Gross, the dad, well, the guy who played the dad,
Yep.
he was freaking hilarious.
Oh, so funny.
And
Unbelievable.
interestingly, you know the girl that dumped Alex on the show?
Yep.
Remember before he went out with the brunette there. Well, anyway, they got married in real life. I did not realize
Interesting.
that. Yeah. But, she was like saying, I got to the point where he doesn't even laugh when I say the word feminist. And then, of course, Alex P. Keaton starts laughing. And it was just awesome because he was, he was very conservative, living his parents were very liberal. I mean, I don't know
Right.
about the
Right.
sisters.
Yep.
But it was just it really was just a warm show.
Warm show is great.
Yeah.
way
You know
to
what I
Great
mean?
way
describe
to
it.
put
Yeah.
that show.
It just
yeah.
it made me feel good, and they had their serious episodes, like when one of his buddies was killed in a car crash,
Yep.
and everyone was funny.
Here we go with all the repeats.
Here we
but
go.
Welcome back, Cotter. Also,
Welcome
my number
back.
7. Just such a great show. I mean, what more can I say about it? I just loved the fact that something that was important to me with the show. I mean, the Sweat Hogs were just a friggin' riot, of course, but just the fact that I had a teacher like Gabe Cotter. It was a woman, but just how back then you could confide in certain people. Like nowadays, they just don't. You can't do that. And I really did. And it was really important to me in my life. I was in 4th grade. Her name, to me, she was Mrs. Johnson, but it was just, it was awesome how that they could confide in him and whatnot. Anyway, welcome back, Cotter. Just a really important show to me. And I wish I could come up with one. I should have wrote one down last night, but he always ended the episode with a joke.
About his Uncle Louie.
He talking to his wife. Yeah, exactly.
Those are great.
And anyway, great show. And I will go to you, Donald, for number
Up your nose
6.
with a rubber
Cool.
hose.
No, I mean, I appreciate what you said about a teacher making an impact in your life, because teachers are amazing.
Absolutely.
All politics aside, like teachers do the hard work, and there are those individuals when you're at an impressionable age that make a difference in your life. And I think that's an amazing thing.
Hell
And when
yeah.
someone does that, it's cool.
I think that she genuinely saved my life.
Yeah, and that and I have a few of those in my history as well.
Yep.
And it's just, that should not ever be understated. Unfortunately, certain things get in the way of that. But anyways, okay, back to the fun of number 6. This is the spinoff that Mark's going to get pissed off.
How do you know?
Because
But this was a show that I watched, and it was funny, and it was Mork and Mindy.
No.
1978 to 1982,
No, I didn't mind that
spin-off
show.
of Happy Days.
I didn't
which
mind the show, but I didn't
it's like,
think it
how
belonged
can
on
you
Happy
have
Days.
a spin-off of Happy Days to Mork and Mindy Alien 1950s Americana is like, it didn't match up, but like on its own, Mork and Mindy was
It was a
funny
great show. Hell yeah.
because of the late great Robin Williams is an amazing comedic actor.
Absolutely.
The man probably liked cocaine a little bit too much,
A little, yeah.
Yeah, think
but that's what generated his funniness and
Man, was he a riot.
funny. And that show had a bunch of comedians that I like to. Robert Donner was another comedian on that show. He was the great Exodor or whatever. And Jonathan Winters
yes.
was amazing in that show.
Oh, yeah.
But I just thought it was a fun show. It was, again, this is like, it didn't meet all those criteria of it wasn't pop culture, it wasn't da-da-da, but it was just funny. And that's all it was meant to be, is stupid, mindless humor that escapes you from reality.
Exactly.
And I thought, Robin Williams did an amazing job at that. So,
It sure
as
did.
as a writer, how else could you have taken Robin Williams and showcased what he did?
Yeah.
I mean, it almost had to be as bizarre as being
Right.
an alien,
Right.
Because he was how would you explain that character as a human being?
Yeah, someone that out there.
Right, exactly. And it was.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just one of those shows that
Yeah.
was like, if you looked at it on paper, you're like, yeah, this doesn't, or any other
Yeah.
actor in the role
Yeah.
of Mork,
Yeah.
failure,
Right.
huge
Yeah.
failure,
Right.
never would have worked.
Yeah.
But it was designed to showcase the insanity that was Robin Williams.
Right,
And
right.
he actually, so he brought Jonathan Winters in because Winters was such an influence on him
Yeah.
when he was younger. And they did a lot together as well. And if you ever get the chance, I used to have some of Jonathan Winters' albums back when that's where you got comedy, was
Yeah.
off LPs. And the man was well beyond his years
Oh, yeah.
in back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, just did some crazy comedic stuff.
Yeah.
Great
Oh,
stuff
yeah.
to listen to if you ever get the chance. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. One of a kind.
He was great
for
in Good
sure.
Morning Vietnam. I loved that movie.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah.
Adrian Cronauer.
Yeah.
Awesome. Goodwill Hunting, what a great acting
Yeah.
job.
Oh, yeah.
he
Yeah.
did
I mean,
in that,
his
too.
acting chops were right
Oh,
up there
awesome.
too.
Yeah, to go from that off
Crazy
the hook,
dude.
Yeah.
wild stream of consciousness to actually molding a character the way that he did was
Yes. And sadly,
And
that was
yeah.
more closely
Yeah.
to his actual
Right.
life.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And that's like, comedy is satire. It's
Absolutely.
it's satire for the pain of life.
Yes.
And he was fully
He
engrossed in it.
vented.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. So we are at number 6 to you, Kev.
number 6 is, and AJ, you're going to know exactly what I'm talking about. As soon as I say maybe number 6 in sitcoms, number 1 in theme songs.
Oh, yeah.
Sanford
yeah.
and Son.
Oh.
Absolutely the greatest. Quincy Jones just made the greatest
lovely.
intro song for
love
any
you.
TV show. I love you too, brother.
No, I love that you made that point. That's
But other than that, it was just talk about, just like, Robin Williams was different. He was of his own. But Red Fox was an accomplished stand-up comic and really like well beyond lewd for his time. He did a lot of stuff. If you ever saw the stand-up comedy that he did was like did not fit in that era.
No,
it
yeah.
was
Yeah.
it was
He
like,
was pretty graphic.
it was graphic.
Yeah.
It was
Yep.
dirty, but just an amazing comedian and the supporting cast
Oh,
with,
yeah.
with Lamont.
Yeah.
One of my favorites, and I'm going to throw out a couple lines because they were just so great. Is just he was almost like a black Archie Bunker in some
Yes,
respects
right.
because he just like Rollo would always say to him, "Buenos dias, Mr. Sanford," and he'd say, "Well, beans and disease to you too." I mean, he just had the great lines. All of the Elizabeth, I'm coming to join you.
I'm dying. You hear that, Elizabeth? I'm coming to join you, honey. Oh. Maybe that's Elizabeth.
Oh, I love
And-
that. I pull that one out.
Oh,
all the time.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And probably one of the best lines ever was when Esther would come over and he'd say, "You're so ugly, I'm going to push your face in some cookie dough and make some Gorilla cookies." Yes. It
Okay.
was just,
All right, enough.
No, I'm glad you picked that song. I mean,
it's
the theme song from Quincy Jones is amazing.
That is incredible. I love that theme
Amazing.
song.
Definitely
And
the
if
number.
there's-
It would definitely be number one
Yeah.
on my list too. I think.
It's
which
called the Street
actually
Beater. If
would-
anybody out there wants to look it up, the
called
Street Beater.
The
Really?
Street Beater. Okay.
Yep.
We'll
Yep, from
definitely
Quincy Jones.
talk about that as a
Yeah.
As an episode,
cast,
yeah.
too,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yep.
What theme songs? To
yeah.
shows?
So if there's any listener or listeners out there
Yes.
that went to Berkeley College
hope
of
we
Music
have one.
in the 1990 era, would know that at 150 Mass Ave and Quincy Jones did go to Berkeley, and at 2 a.m. in the morning there was this like center kind of quad area. At 2:30 in the morning, somebody would put big, large speakers and jam that song. At 2:30 in the morning.
I would have stayed up for it every night.
Absolutely.
It was classic.
You can't listen to that and not like move your head or something. Just, yeah.
Exactly. You got to mouth it and everything.
Right?
Awesome. All right.
Dummy.
Great.
Big
Great.
dummy.
pick, Kev. Which another one that I knew you were going to have, so I altered. my
Diverted.
list. I have altered my list.
Pray I alter it no further.
All right, brother. That is number 6 to you.
Okay, this is a show with Kelsey Grammer called Frasier. It's a spinoff from Cheers.
Yes.
Brilliant.
He moves to Seattle. He does a radio show for psychology or psychiatry. Well, I don't think it's really psychiatry. It's basically therapy. And great show. His brother Niles also was in the same type of business. And their father is absolutely the polar opposite to them.
A great character.
Yes, he's more of a blue collar guy. He loves his chair. He loves his dog. The dog stares at Frasier, makes him all uncomfortable. You had the the relationship thing that was like building throughout the entire show with Daphne and Niles, and they actually finally get married. Roz was an extremely hot co-host of Frasier.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it was super funny. And his rivalry with his brother, and just such a hilarious show. His banner with the collars was incredible. And it's just, there was, there was the friggin' male chauvinistic character that in real life is actually gay, but he was always trying to hit on Roz and everything else that moved.
Nice.
And so,
Bulldog Briscoe.
Briscoe, that's the dog.
So Lilith, if this is a podcast or not a podcast, a sitcom that is out of our range, so I'm not going to be as trumping on anybody, but the Marvelous Mrs. Maisel.
Yeah.
Anyone's ever
I haven't
seen
seen
that?
it, but
She's on that, and she's fantastic.
It's the mom?
Yeah.
Wow, I never picked up
Yeah.
on that
Yeah.
watching.
Yeah.
I've only seen a couple episodes, but
Yeah.
wow.
But no, it was just so much fun and so funny. And
Yeah.
just-
Yeah.
also not the caliber of Sanford and Son, but a great intro song as well.
Something about
absolutely.
scrambled eggs.
Tossed salad and scrambled
Tossed
eggs.
salad and scrambled eggs.
Yeah.
All right. So where are we here? This is number 6 to me.
That's right.
And
That's right.
I think that this is the one that no one else is probably going to have, but I don't care. This show to me, I just loved. And it's from 1964 through 1966. And it is The Munsters.
I forgot about that one.
And this is just, this is the one I had taught when I spoke with a couple of you guys yesterday. I said I was walking into the bathroom and it clicked in my head, and that didn't show up anywhere. Like when I was doing some research, and I'm like, how can I forget the Munsters, but just Fred Gwynne, and oh God, Grandpa's name just left me. But, you know, they did Car 54 together.
Right.
And they loved them together so much that this came about, and Herman's wife, Lily, is so hot in real life. You know, of course, you know, she's all made up in that, but the show just being a family like that thinks they're normal. And of course, you know, Marilyn was
what
the
a hideous
ugly
look
duckling.
a hideous,
And that was
sorry.
such a great goof. I mean, she was gorgeous.
Yeah.
And they all made fun of how
big Marilyn Monroe take off with her look.
I have to disagree with you. I thought she was very ugly. I thought
very homely.
Herman was a very handsome man.
Yes, he was.
You know,
Yep, tall too.
Yeah, tall.
tall, green, and
Oh
handsome.
man, yeah.
Boy, was it weird too when they later on did the episodes in color. It just didn't fare right to me. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, but just everything about it was just so funny. And I couldn't leave it off my list. One thing I did want to say is off subject, kind of, but
she dusted the house.
is
Dusted it instead of vacuum.
Yeah, exactly.
It came out of the vacuum.
But Rob Zombie, his song Dragula.
is
is
about the George
based
Barris.
on the Dragula that Grandpa built. Beautiful
Nice.
sports car, and
This
From a
was nice-
coffin.
yes, yeah, but yeah, that's what Herman. His job was at the funeral home, and I think he modeled the caskets. So, yeah. But anyway, awesome.
Pop Rocks. Check. Stretch Armstrong. Check. The Bionic Man. Check. You've gone back in time. This is Pastimes at 80s High.
Awesome. All right, so that's number 5 to you, Donald.
All right, number 5 is gonna be the Flintstones, which I know we talked about the Honeymooners, and this is the spin-off of the Honeymooners. And this is a show that is near and dear to my heart, and was watching it frequently as a child in syndication, but an amazing show.
Awesome.
So I want to bring up the biggest thing of this is the man of 1,000 voices, Mel Blanc, who played Barney Rubble. The guy, I envy his career. I think I could want to be that type of voice actor. Would be amazing to be the voice of 1,000 characters, and he nails it. He's amazing. The amount of voices he did for all the cartoons that are near and dear to our heart.
Yeah.
But the Flintstones was the OG for the cartoon sitcom that adults could watch, and it's just there's endless stuff that we could go over, and I'm sure that will come up again.
Awesome.
So I'll leave it at that.
Such
but,
a honeymooners thing.
I like the camera with the
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 bird,
little dinosaur bird that
chiseling
blows
it
fire.
out.
Yeah.
yeah.
He chisels it out.
I like that Joe Rock had, you know?
Yes.
Awesome. Yeah, such a great cartoon too. All right, number 5 to you, Kev.
All right. You know, we're in that stretch, and you're all going to hate me. We even talked about some of the spin-offs, but 82 to 93, Cheers was just a great show. Had such an amazing run. They did, well, I'd give them finally 50-50 on replacing people. I think when Coach passed, who was just brilliant in that
Salt of the
role.
earth.
He was. He was just so great. And then replacing him with Woody was genius. However, I personally never felt that Kirstie Alley ever came close to the dynamic with
Sam and Diane.
Yeah.
That was so legendary. And look at how many shows since then have just like, let's keep dragging this relationship out.
right.
And almost getting there and then pulling back, and then almost getting there and pulling back. Just a fantastic show. And then just the idea that you could have the different characters come in that sat down at the bar, maybe because most of my life has been spent in that situation. The characters like the Cliff Clavins and the Norms. And I mean, everybody knows Buffalo Theory from Cliff about, killing brain cells off. Like it keeps it's just like the buffalo, they kill off the weak ones. And that's why you feel smarter when you drink beer. Just great theories and all the Norm welcomes. Hey, Norm, what's going down? My butt cheeks on this bar stool.
Right.
What's going on, Mr. Peterson? Let's talk about what's going in, Mr. Peterson. What do you...
Right. And then Carla and Frasier, of course. I mean, just a great ensemble cast. And like, as we get into these ones that are coming up, one of the things that really hit me about those, I was trying to think about what to say about these shows. I think the overriding thing is you could wake up and be at Cheers and you'd know where the bathroom was.
Yeah,
you'd know where the pool table was.
Right.
You'd know that you could go upstairs over there to the left and go upstairs to Melville's and get some nice seafood in Boston.
Absolutely.
You know where the front door, you know what I mean? It's like those people became
part of
good or
us.
bad as kids, that they became part of our lives.
Damn right. All right. Let's see. Number 5 to you then, Mark.
All right, this show runs from 1970 to 1975. It's based on a movie of the same name, and this show was called The Odd Couple.
Yeah.
Absolutely love it. Jack Klugman as Oscar Madison, Tony Randall as Felix Unger. Just so many great episodes, just rip-roaring laughter. Some of the episodes I remember, one is Felix had a pet bird, and they were at a funeral, and the bird came back to life. The bird was never dead, apparently. And Oscar Madison was not going to waste this money, so he kills a fly, and he names the fly Fred. So the guy's up there. We come here today to mourn Fred the fly, beloved pet of Oscar Madison. One time, Felix says, "Pizza and beer for breakfast, Oscar? Really? Are you kidding? Breakfast is the most important meal of the day." And, they were on the Let's Make a Deal with Monty Hall. That was funny. They ended up having to donate the money to their favorite orphanage because Monty Hall was friends with them, but it was great fun.
That was great fun.
Yeah.
Oscar was my hero.
Yes.
He was a sports writer.
I love the intro, and I can't remember exactly, but it was like June 7th, 1964.
Yeah.
Oscar Madison's wife asked him to leave the house and never return.
I like it with Felix during the intro. He bends over and he can't get back up. And,
Right. Yeah,
so
he
yeah,
always had problems with his back, right?
obviously Oscar was the slob, and Felix was a complete neat freak, and just
And amazing, because I always thought that Tony Randall was gay, but he was like giving birth to children into his 90s almost.
Yeah, right.
I mean, it's like, you're going a long way to, that's a big beard you're wearing, buddy. You're going a long way to prove that you're not gay.
Yeah.
Pumping out kids
funny.
at 90 years old.
Yeah.
All right. So number 5 to me, and boy, the rest of my list is going to go pretty quick because my number 5 is Batman. I had to put it on there. It was just one of my favorite shows to watch as a kid. And like Mark, I didn't really pick up on the comedic part of it.
It was
until a little later in life, and then it's just hilarious. I mean, Adam West and his dryness and all of the things that he would say, like, "Your mother wore army boots." Yes, and she found them quite comfortable. Like, he just
Deadpan.
and he followed the law right to a T, didn't he?
he never sped. Like, he would not
Right.
speed. So it
Even
might
in an
take him a
emergency
little longer
situation.
to get to the crime.
I'm for that.
Holy headache.
but just I couldn't leave it off my list. So number 4 to you, Don.
Great. Number 4. This is going back to, you had it, the Brady Bunch.
Yes.
So the Brady Bunch meant a lot to me. I watched it every single day in syndication. Watched every single episode. I love the pop culture from it. Recently is last week, the Marsha.
Right.
You hear the Russia stuff.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
You know, I loved the Hawaii episodes.
Yeah.
And the when they
Great
went to the Grand
taboo.
Canyon, when they did like the travel episodes.
Yeah, like
They were
the Grand
amazing.
Canyon.
Was
Yeah.
it the Grand Canyon one where they got into the ghost town?
Yes.
And they got locked
They
up,
got-
and
Yeah.
they had to put all their belts together
Yeah.
to get the keys.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that was
And they got lost.
50
Bobby
years ago, and
Cindy
I
got lost.
remember that. I can close
Yeah.
my eyes and see that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't play ball in the house. You know,
course they break
throw
the
a football, break your nose. Kind of.
Oh, my nose.
Yeah.
Hey, AJ, what do you want for dinner? Pork chops and applesauce.
Oh, right.
Jesus.
Pork
chops.
chops and apple
When
chops.
it's time to change, you got to rearrange.
The silver platters. That was the silver platters,
Yeah.
wasn't it?
So just a great series to my heart.
Oh yeah, near and dear
Yeah.
for certain. And it was Vincent Price in the
Yeah,
cage.
that's my tiki. No, that's my tiki.
Yeah. And it
Pick
was,
any tiki.
oh, Oliver. That was
Right.
the statue. Oh, great pick, Donald. All right, number 4 to you, Kev.
4. All right. I got to go with, because the man, again, stand-up genius that most people aren't familiar with in our age group. You got to go back a ways, but he was a genius as a stand-up. Newhart.
Oh, yeah.
Just
Newhart.
an incredible
Yeah.
show. I mean, you
He was
had
a riot.
there was that, you know, the timely stuff, and there was the quotable things. It's my brother Larry and my brother Daryl, my other brother Daryl. You know, the maid being like not really into being a maid, and all of that, and just the fact that I think we all kind of feel a little bit like his character in life, because he was the ultimate straight man, and
Right.
he's just trying to get through the day.
Yeah.
And everybody around him was absolutely insane.
Insane.
From his wife to, like I said, the maid
Yeah.
to
Larry, Daryl, and
Like he
Daryl.
is miserable because everyone else is miserable.
Right,
Like
right, yeah,
the world
yeah.
is miserable.
yeah, and he's just like, but he's just like, it was that, and he never did the look at the camera thing, but that character certainly could have
Right.
been like, is this really happening? Is this these people really say like
Right.
the handyman was not handy.
Yeah.
Tom Poston was
Yeah.
not. He couldn't fix
Yeah.
anything.
Oh, man.
So just a great show from that era.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible.
And probably one of the best endings. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah, I
because
remember the ending.
He had a sitcom in the 60s.
Right.
And so the way they ended this one in the 80s was he wakes up in bed with the wife from the sitcom
Right.
in the 60s
Right.
and
Oh, nice.
said,
Right.
I just had the strangest dream.
Right.
And
Right.
it was just
Oh,
so
yeah,
cool
I remember
he did
that, actually.
So
Yeah, that you
it
mentioned
was
that.
the Bob Newhart show first, and then Newhart.
And then
right?
Newhart,
Yeah,
yes.
right,
And
exactly.
Suzanne Plachette was his wife in
Right.
Bob Newhart when he was a dentist or a therapist or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
And then so he wakes up in bed with her
That's
at the
great.
end
Yeah.
of the second one.
Yeah,
Just
it was
brilliant.
a great twist.
Very
Yeah.
brilliant. Awesome. And he's great in The Big Bang Theory. He is
he's in that?
Professor
I do
Proton.
remember that.
Professor Proton.
Yeah.
And he always he passed away in the show, and he now visits Sheldon in his dreams as Obi-Wan, like in the
Nice.
robe. And,
He was great. In
and he's
Elf.
always like so dry. I don't know why I'm wearing this thing. Can I go now, Sheldon?
right.
Well,
But
that was
anyway.
that was part of the funny stuff. Is his stand up. Like one of the famous ones was like a driving instructor, and he'd just sit
I
down
do
on
that.
stage in a
Yeah.
chair, and so it was just him, but he'd be like, no, Mr. Johnson, no, don't put it in reverse. No, okay, so you've backed over the fence. That's okay. Let's go ahead and put it in drive. Okay, yeah. Typically we brake before we hit the cat.
Right.
You know what I mean? It
Right.
was just
Right.
I assumed you were taking a left because you were in the left-hand
left
lane and with the left blinker on.
no, I didn't.
You took a right.
Oh, yeah, very dry.
yeah,
Right.
yeah, genius.
Oh, yes.
He is genius.
All right, Mark, number 4 to you then.
All right, I'm a little nervous about a lot of repeats at this point in the show, but I I have Cheers as well. Just an iconic show. Just so many great characters. You know, Norm, Cliff Clavin. He was just a fountain of information. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Cliffy.
Yeah. I remember the episode he was on, was it Jeopardy? And he was just kicking everyone's ass.
Oh, that was annoying. No.
And then they got to the very end to Final Jeopardy, and he said 3 people that have never been in my mother's kitchen or something like that. Woody, he was so funny.
Woody was great.
Take all the money in the world and get rid of it. That's what I have. And he had that new girlfriend that he had, and
Kelly.
was it Kelly? And they
And he wrote her a song. Kelly.
and they were voted
Kelly.
couple most likely to explode because they took this sexual tension and they turned it into eating.
Right.
And you know, Cliff Clavin had, because I can relate to this because I was a casual mailman for the post office back in the 80s, and I hated Upbeat Day. It was a day where it was like a weekly paper, free paper that everyone got mailed to them.
Oh,
Yeah.
right.
So I'd go into some of the, like Winter Street. I lived on Winter Street, so I'm not gonna. But there was a lot of crappy neighborhoods that I had to deliver, and if you had an Upbeat, that meant every single mailbox got a something.
Yeah,
I had
and your bag was 3 times heavier.
oh, it was heavy.
Right,
But
right.
Cliff Clavin hated TV Guide Day.
Yes.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
a underappreciated thing nowadays.
The TV guy.
guide,
Oh,
yeah.
man, I used to
Is there
love
even
it.
there's no such thing? Is
No,
there?
There is no such
It's called
thing.
your phone,
Yeah,
or the
yeah.
the
Or the
scrolling
guide
one
on
on
the
the
right.
like
TV.
phone books. Like that must have been a horrible
I think they still
day.
make those. Though.
Yeah, they
Do
do
they?
make phone books.
I
yeah.
haven't gotten one in the mail
Yeah.
for a long
It's
time.
more like Yellow Pages book, not phone book.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
I would spend $0 on that advertising now. Sorry.
I absolutely adored the intro song. It was just really warm and fuzzy.
yeah.
Just, come here. Let's just
it
forget our
epitomized it,
worries,
yeah.
our troubles.
The only thing that I will say negative about Cheers is that if you've lived and been in Boston and gone into the Cheers,
The Bull and Finch.
it's not the same.
No, not even
of
close.
course.
You would think you would walk into the set,
Right,
you know,
right.
right.
but unfortunately it's not.
Of course,
That's the
too
only
bad.
downside.
You'd think by now they
Yeah.
would have built it,
Right.
You know what
right.
I
Well, you can
Yeah.
build a replica.
Well, they did.
Yeah.
They I don't know how replica they were, but they did license people to build. Well, there's one in Concord.
Right.
There's a
There is a
in
Cheers in
yeah.
Concord.
Yeah.
I
So
mean,
they
I don't-
licensed the name,
Correct. But
yeah,
not
it would've
not the bar, which
Right,
is a
right.
what do you call it? Horseshoe bar or
been- right,
just
right.
iconic.
Yeah.
Although I did like the time that Sam, for some reason, went somewhere tropical. I think he left the bar. I think it was one of the later
Yeah.
ones. And he's standing there and they go down to retrieve him and bring him back to Boston or something. And so they walk up to the tiki bar that he's working at. And they're like, hey, Sam, we got to talk to you. And he goes, I'll be right with you right after I make this margarita. So, margarita, what are you doing later?
Right.
Nice.
Interesting is that Sam and Woody have a podcast. So fellow
Oh, they do?
podcasters,
Yeah,
a
I
shout
saw
out.
that,
They just
actually.
came out with a
Nice.
podcast.
I saw that,
Yeah.
and it's funny because I started listening to it, and it didn't sound like him.
Yeah.
Can I bring up
Ted
one-
Danson and
Yeah.
Woody Harrelson? Yeah.
One more quote from that show, and first of all, I want to say that I don't think he was a very good pitcher. He was a relief pitcher for the Red Sox, but I think his ERA must have been in the 5s. But I just remember when he says to Sam Malone says to Diane, "Change, Diane, not for you or any other man." No, change nickels, dimes, quarters.
All right.
So that's it for me, man.
Before, well, happy days. Goodbye, gray
Yeah.
sky. Hello, blue. I mean, once again, I don't know what more I could say about it because we've touched on it quite a bit, and it was just so important to me. Just the beginning, just them always coming in either Arnold's or then Big Al's. Or I get that vice versa.
We were
No,
in
I was right.
Littleton when it first started out.
Oh yeah, just such a great show. Just Potsy and Ralph Mouth, and just the restaurant scenes were always
Yeah.
my favorites.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
Fonzie's
those are-
office,
Yeah.
in the bathroom,
Right, the office.
Right.
That's great.
Cunningham, my office. Now,
But just another quick side note is, of course, there was Pinky Tuscadero, but then there was Leather Tuscadero.
Right.
yes.
And now her name has left me. Oh, it's killing me. But
the actress?
yes.
Wasn't it Susie Quattro?
Thank you.
You're
yes.
welcome.
And she was on Eddie Trunk not long ago, because she's actually a real musician. And anyway, Leather Tuscadero.
Yeah.
So,
Leather.
but anyway, I will stop there and go to you, Donald, for number 3.
Number 3, and this is my curse of being the first, is that I'm going to steal, probably, hopefully not. from
That's
some of you.
quite all right.
But Gilligan's Island is going to be mine because it's a classic. It's in the top 3. Could be top 1, definitely. Certainly for me as a young child, watching this show every single day in syndication was amazing. It was a show that's interesting that it only had 3 seasons.
I know. I saw
Yet
that.
it had 99 episodes. So like a season was 36 episodes.
Yeah.
So that's pretty impressive.
33, Donald.
I mean, you have the age-old question, obviously. Mary Ann versus Ginger.
Mary Ann all
that's
the
the
way.
that's the pop culture thing.
And everyone always picks Mary Ann, it
It's
seems.
it's Mary Ann is the
But she's a sweetheart.
hard-body girl next
Oh,
door
yes,
that everybody
the All-American.
But Ginger, if you look at Tina Louise, so it's Dawn Wells versus Tina Louise. You look at some of Tina Louise's stuff from previous movies, and oh my goodness.
Oh, yeah. She was, I mean, she was a
that
looker,
was
but
prior to breast implants,
Right.
and she definitely filled the suit, kind of thing.
But I think it goes to the male psyche
Yeah.
of we really want the girl next door, the
Right,
America's
right,
sweetheart,
right.
more than we would pine for the sex symbol
Movie
Right.
star.
movie
yeah.
star,
High
the professor,
maintenance,
and
yeah.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
here on
Yeah.
Gilligan's Island.
Yeah.
The other one is if the professor could build a radio out of a coconut, why couldn't he build a fucking boat?
Well, that's the plot hole things.
Right,
there was a hole in the boat, but yet they can make cars that drive down the island,
and they had guest stars every other week. People always came to the island,
But yet
Never
they
got him
they-
out of there.
They couldn't
like
fix
the Harlem
hole in the boat.
Globetrotters.
But I mean, I have a theory about why Gilligan had so much issues with, making so many mistakes. He was actually a mighty sailing man.
He was a
the
mighty
mate
sailor.
was a mighty sailing man,
Yeah.
and I think he must have hit his head on something when they came ashore or something.
If you
little
want to
buddy.
dive deep into it, you got Gilligan and you got the professor. Those are the only 2. And then you got Ginger and Mary Ann. Those are the only 2, right? The other people are out of the picture. So there's 2 guys, 2 girls.
What's wrong with the skipper?
Skipper wasn't having any of those
I
girls.
think Skipper was odd man out, but don't forget that Thurston Howell III and Lovey.
Yeah, but he's a
Love
married
it.
man. He can't do anything, so he's out of the
But
picture.
he's got Lovey. He doesn't need.
Right,
Right, right.
He can live his life
Right,
in
yeah.
retirement on the nice
Might have been
tropical
going
island.
back and forth with both of
The
them.
skipper,
Over and over
the
again.
skipper's a sad case. He's a kind of a heavier set man who's probably a little older. So it
too
was really
old.
between Gilligan and the professor for the 2
He probably-
single
he
ladies on
probably-
the island.
I'm guessing Skipper had a healthy wife at home.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that he was holding out to get back to his missus. I just feel like that.
Oh, he was.
Keep it that way in my mind.
Just
anyway.
admit it. The professor was banging both of them.
If he's as smart as we all thought he was, he was sneaking in that tiki every night.
Well, somehow he kept that white shirt clean on an island. He was
Yeah,
always
exactly.
cleaned and pressed with his
right,
pants.
right.
All right. So where are we? Number 3.
I mean, MASH
Oh,
was,
yeah.
again, you could get dropped off at the 407 7th and you could find your way to the office. You could find your way to the mess hall. You'd
Right.
know where the storage
Yeah,
shed was because you'd find Hawkeye in there with a nurse.
right.
I mean, all of those things, those characters were so well developed and so
Yeah.
hilarious. And that was one show that certainly, we talked a little bit about doing serious. They did not shy
hell
away
yeah.
from
No,
doing
no way.
topical, serious
Yeah.
type thing because that's what it came
Absolutely.
from. It's, I mean, if I can't think of another TV show based on a movie that well surpassed the popularity and I think the quality of the movie.
Oh, hell yeah.
Not to mention that the show ran from 72 to 83, which was 11 years, which was far longer than the actual Korean War.
Yeah, exactly.
That it was based in.
Right.
Did you, do you guys, have you ever heard the actual lyrics to the song? Do you know what the name of
Yes,
it?
yes, Suicide's Painless.
Oh my God.
Which is kind of we hummed that every whatever night it was of the week.
Right?
I know, but I heard it was like, that is kind of depressing.
Yes.
deep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in the movie, there was, I'm trying to remember how it went. One of the characters didn't want to live anymore. So they did like a fake funeral for him and he's lying in the casket. And that's the song that they're playing is
Which was
Suicide's Painless.
Donald Sutherland, who just recently passed away.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
The
Sutherland, Elliot
game of
Gould.
life is hard to play. I'm gonna lose it anyway.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I'm not, no advice to anyone out there.
No.
Life is good.
Call your
What a
uplines.
great show,
Yeah.
though. I mean,
And,
so
and they did
deep.
right, and they did really well. Talking about replacing people.
Oh,
You know,
absolutely.
To go from Frank Burns to Winchester,
Right.
Maybe not the same kind of because the
Totally
dynamic
different
with
character.
Hot Lips, but
But same.
still did that straight man
same
foil
protag-
to the
or
other guys,
antagonist,
and then to go from Henry Blake to Colonel Potter,
Right.
was another great transition.
Brilliant.
And I will always, I mean, I think I kind of feel the same about when Henry Blake's character left and died in the helicopter crash is like somewhere emotionally like losing my grandfather.
Right.
You know what I mean? It was
Right.
like at that age,
Right.
that was like,
Big.
it was huge.
Damn,
It
I'm
was
still
huge.
like, did he really die?
Yeah, right.
Right,
Yeah,
yeah.
Is he dead?
Hey, was that just a story thing? Or-
Right. Or is he doing a movie?
Yeah.
No, he actually did a TV show that failed almost. McLean Stevenson, and it was Hello Larry was the show, and it was on for like, I don't know, what was the minimum, 13 weeks or something like
Right,
that.
yeah.
Well, that was
So-
the show that introduced transgenderism, didn't it? Jamie Farr, was that the guy's name?
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Lebanese guy like me and AJ. Yeah.
Right out of Ohio.
Trying to get a Section 8, but
Yep.
they were on to his scheme.
Klinger.
Yeah.
Yeah, Klinger, exactly.
yeah.
He was a riot.
He was
Now
because
it's totally accepted.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And the funny thing was, is that later on. He got way too into the part. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He was just trying to get a Section 8, but he was really serious about like his chiffon things and whatever. You know, and it's like he was like
seriously.
And matching his shoes.
Yeah, right? Yeah. He went for it all the way.
Right.
Awesome. All right. So number 3 to you, Mark.
All right, this show had the women's champion on it. The show is called Taxi,
Oh, yeah.
and
Nice.
Andy Kaufman. He actually had a part in wrestling.
Oh, the women's
yes.
champion. That's
Yes.
right. Yep.
Oh yeah. And he had a dual personality. He was mostly talking like this, you know. And he married Simca.
Carol Kane.
Yeah, and Alex Rieger, he was like, this one wants to be an actor. This one wants to do plays. This one wants to be a boxer. I'm a cab driver. I remember that part. And so many different funny episodes.
Here I go again. Number 3 to me. And it's Good Times. I actually
Nice.
thought we were going to have a lot of different ones today, but I mean, it just goes to show what a real classic is. And
Yeah.
this show just touched on so many different things, and the seriousness of it. It was actually the first and second episode of season 4 when James Earl Evans passed away in a car accident. And I mean, for it to go that long without him, they still managed, and it was still a great show.
Was
after
it a car
that.
accident? Or was it a work accident? I thought it.
I thought it was an automobile
I thought it was, but
accident.
it's been a long time.
And he was in Mississippi because they were all going to move there. And they just funny to, not funny, but to think back, they got that news in the mail. Anyway, but
Could have
the
been Chicago.
spin-offs,
Yeah.
I still won't say, just in case. But It was, in fact, a spinoff. So that goes to number 2 to you, Donnie.
Number 2 to me, this is a show that I didn't see live because, again, I was in the military most of the 90s. But I did see, we got the Armed Forces Network, and they would kind of show us like syndicated type of shows. And this is the show about nothing that I think is one of the greatest sitcoms
Of
ever,
all
the
time.
Without a
Seinfeld.
doubt.
Yeah. And just the characters. To have a show about nothing that is just funny. Like every episode was something different.
Oh
and
my
there was
God.
always something pop culture funny in it. And I could go on for, hopefully I didn't.
Well,
No,
what's the
I would
name of the
imagine
show?
Seinfeld, of course. You said it.
Yeah.
You did.
Yep.
Yeah.
But the
Yeah.
beauty is there's so much of this show to talk about.
Oh, yeah.
Like
Yeah.
we were talking about
Absolutely.
earlier,
I
Kevin,
mean,
Yeah.
that you can't spoil it.
Right,
you
right.
know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. There's, you can always pivot to one
Yeah.
of 9 million other episodes.
Right.
Exactly.
That were
Right.
legendary.
Right.
No,
You can't
you had
watch
to
an
watch it.
episode and not enjoy it. And just the characters are just.
And it was pretty
in
much
their
about
own-
nothing,
right?
too.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's hateful.
Yeah.
Like
It's
they
so-
were such
Right.
miserable
And that's
people.
funny
They
because
actually were.
I remember the first watch through, and I don't think I was out. I wasn't in the military. I was doing other things, but it wasn't like something that I was in front of the TV like
Right. Right.
the earlier stuff when I was younger.
Thursday night.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was out boozing for
Yeah,
God's
'cause we
sakes.
were in our
20s,
Teens
right.
and 20s. Yeah.
I was in my
But
30s,
it wasn't until
20s and
after
30s.
it went into syndication and I saw it again that I realized how hateful they were.
Oh,
what
yeah.
terrible human beings.
They were just shallow as all get. I mean,
absolutely.
shallower than a dry
Again,
puddle
that's
desert.
if you're
Are you
being honest with yourself,
sponge-worthy?
that's most people.
Oh,
right?
exactly. Exactly. Like, isn't it Louis Panette?
Right.
Isn't Louis Panette the guy in the last episode or the last 2 episodes that gets mugged and they're laughing at him and videotaping it? They
In
end up-
Boston.
Yeah. It's the Good Samaritan law,
Right.
and they
Yeah.
end up
Yeah.
getting.
That's the last
getting-
episode.
Yeah, they end up
Correct.
getting thrown in jail. But I believe that was Louis Panette.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's a degree of us that it's like that's all of us,
Right.
And then of
Yeah.
course the thing that I was good because I'm going to be honest, that was my next pick as well. So we'll
Oh,
just.
I'm sorry.
No,
Yeah.
come on. We're like,
Yeah.
oh,
And
like,
I'm
like-
pretty sure it's
like
on
I
all
thought
of
I
our
was going to be
lists.
the only person that
Yeah.
picks. No,
Yeah.
no, it's. But I figured we'll keep rolling with it. The thing that was brilliant about that was the tie-in. Everything always came around. That last scene
Yeah.
always took all
Right.
the elements from what was going on in the different sub-stories of the show, and they all came in together, and that was what made me think of that. Is that was brilliant about the final episode.
Yeah.
Was he's sitting there and they start talking about the placement of the button? They're in the jail cell, which was where the show started.
It makes or breaks
Right.
the
So
shirt.
it makes or breaks the shirt. So not only
Yeah.
was every episode looped back around itself and tied up in a neat little bow, the whole series they were
They
were
did it.
brilliant
Right.
enough. And I'm going to say that was probably a little Larry David there.
Oh, hell yeah.
Just to bring that all
Right,
and put a nice
right,
little bow on
right,
it,
right.
and
Yeah, because I will say that Curb Your Enthusiasm,
oh, fantastic!
same
God,
thing,
yeah.
does the same
Yeah.
thing with the tie-in of
Yeah.
everything. It's great.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
great. So, Kev, that was your number 2, you said as well?
That was my number
Yeah.
2. Yes.
So then to you, brother, for number 2.
Well, well, to just keep it going, I had Seinfeld as well.
Yeah.
Perfect.
89 to 98. Hello, Newman. I mean,
Newman.
This show had, it wasn't just the 4 main characters. You had side characters. You had Newman.
Oh, yeah.
You had Uncle Leo.
Leo.
Costanza's
parents,
parents.
the
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Seinfeld's parents.
Yeah.
Oh, the Costanzas.
And any of those secondary characters are still better than some of the primary characters
on other shows,
shows.
absolutely.
Yeah. And you had your great episodes, obviously, the Soup Nazi.
Like I still pull that off today. Like I'll be at a counter and I'll do the little side step, and I'm just hoping for someone to say, he's doing the soup Nazi thing.
Yeah,
the little
right.
side shuffle.
You get it
thing.
every once in
Right.
a while.
He
No
had to-
super
I want to.
He picks the side of his nose when he's
Right,
and
in
he
the
sees the
car.
girl he's dating, and she thought he was picking his nose. It wasn't
wasn't
a
the side.
pig. It wasn't a pig.
Right. I went through a phase where I was recently divorced and I kind of went on a dating spree, and I was like she's got man hands. Like I was like
Yeah.
hyper focused on little things of,
I think we all
which
do
was
that.
unfortunate. I
The-
shouldn't
the good
be
light, bad light.
shallow like that, but it was like, oh my God, she's got man hands.
No, the woman that was like beautiful in certain light and then hideous when the light was wrong.
Oh yeah, and of course, I mean, we all, at least I know it. I know what shrinkage is.
Oh my God. I'm sorry. I thought this was the baby's room. I'm really sorry.
I was in the pool! I was in the pool!
I was in the
Haven't you ever heard of shrinkage? Oh God! And it happens. Sorry, woman. It does. Don't judge a man just by one look.
Right.
It's so
I'm a grower, not a shower.
I don't want to be a pirate.
now this is funny
Wear
because
the shirt.
I knew I had a feeling that some or most, if not all of us, were going to have this. But the irony is every
We're
one
all
of
at
us
2.
has it at number 2.
Oh God!
And I got a
That'd be
funny
fun.
feeling we'll
Right.
all have the same one.
Actually,
There's no way.
I
Well,
don't.
no chance.
But I know what yours is. But anyway,
No chance.
That's why I didn't spoil the spin-offs. But anyway, one of my favorites you were talking about the man hands is
Yeah.
when they're eating out in the restaurant and he's like reaching over and you got something on your face, but then she's eating the lobster and it just cracking it open with her bare hands.
Ripping the whole thing apart.
But there's just so many things on that show.
So many.
And just one thing that I was talking with Kevin about this morning, and maybe to you guys here earlier, but I mean, I forget how many episodes we're in now, between this and Preachers, but already in several episodes, we are referencing a Seinfeld episode.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In
Talk
the
pop culture stuff.
arcade one, we're talking
Yeah.
about
Frogger.
Frogger.
Yeah.
And in one of our Kiss ones, we're talking about Jimmy's getting angry. I forget, but
We talked about Spare Square when I
yeah,
had.
see, so more
we're
than
talking
twice.
about Jamie Gertz.
I mean, we could do a
Yes,
top
yeah.
25 episodes of this.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, which that'll
absolutely.
definitely be down the line for sure. But
Yeah.
all right,
The Drake.
Let's go to the Drake.
The Maestro.
I hate the Drake. All right,
and
so-
Putty. I'd forgotten Putty was such a
Oh,
great
Putty
character.
was great. He was the greatest. What was the one? Got to support the team.
You gotta support the team.
The devil. The devils. I'm the devil. When he's got the priest in the car. But all right, Donald. Number 1 to you.
So you had your number 2 was
We
Seinfeld?
all
It
had.
was Seinfeld.
Okay, all right.
We all had.
All right, so
Seinfeld
my
too.
number 1's bringing it back to MASH. I put MASH at number 1.
Nice.
I love the show. That was a show that I did watch live with my parents as a young child and watched it into adulthood as well, because that's one that, fits that bill of it's got pop culture, it's got, social, importance to it, the drama that was behind it with some of the sadder episodes, but yet they put humor to it. I loved it.
Yes.
I loved it. I
Just
loved that show.
incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, it was
Yeah.
an anti-war
Right.
protest.
And unfortunately, Korea is a war that gets kind of overlooked, and we lost human beings in that war,
Yeah,
like we
of
have in
course.
other wars. And it wasn't a pretty thing. And, it was good to bring it back. And nurses and doctors and people that are on the front lines that aren't
Absolutely.
military, but they're helping, supporting.
Yeah, what a great way to
Yeah,
tell that
yeah.
story from the perspective of people that aren't necessarily on the front lines, just a little bit behind, and are able to talk about their distaste for the war,
Right.
and to highlight how senseless
Right.
it is to just keep killing people.
Yeah. Number 1 to you.
Number one, it's the granddaddy of them all.
Yep.
It has to be. There's no way in my mind that it can't be All in the Family. It was just so you talk about, or I have talked about, how these people felt like family.
Yes.
And again, the bunkers were just so real. They
Yeah.
just did such a great job with the writing, with those characters. I always, it always bothered me, even as a child. And this ran from 71 to 79. So I was between 2 and 9 years old when this show first ran. And it always bothered me that Meathead was always correcting Archie. And I'm not defending Archie. I'm just saying, here's a guy who's living for free in this man's house.
Yep.
And he's constantly antagonizing and attacking his beliefs. Now,
He wasn't acting.
again, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And again, we've talked about Meathead. He directed 2 of the greatest movies ever,
Yes.
but I just don't care for the rest of his. But the other part of that is that what they did with Archie's character, and the term is malapropism or a malapropist. And Archie just continually used words in the wrong context.
Oh, it was
and
great.
one of my favorites was, Jesus, what are you, one of those communist synthesizers?
Synthesizer?
He was not a bright man, but he had convictions.
Right.
And it was a time when the world was changing greatly and he was trying to hold on to it. But if you go back and you watch those episodes, he said things that were small-minded and racist. And he would argue with Jefferson,
Oh, yeah.
but they hung out.
Right.
They were, you know what I mean?
Right.
I'm not excusing any of that at all. I'm just
And
saying
there was no
that
belittling.
it went from being aware of differences to being, oh my God, microaggressions.
Right.
They said something about my curly hair. Oh my God, did you live through the day?
Exactly.
Because somebody said something about your curl. Oh my word. Or if you look at a woman, what is the one that they always say? Well, if you smiled more, you'd look. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
that's like the most horrible
Right.
thing you can say to somebody.
yeah, no
I
kidding.
get it. I understand where that's coming from. But good Lord, there's worse things that go on in the world.
Oh,
today,
absolutely.
You know?
Yeah,
did
just
mellow.
because someone doesn't get the right word, sympathizer
Yeah.
versus
That was spectacular.
does not mean that the person is an idiot.
Jeez,
No,
yeah.
it did it
It
all
just means
the
they
time.
can't
It was-
articulate something.
Exactly.
But
exactly.
Oh, it was on
discount their
purpose.
point.
Just because
Right,
somebody
right.
doesn't
Right.
have a college degree
Right.
and malaproptizes and mispronounces and uses the wrong word doesn't mean that there isn't validity to their beliefs.
Right.
Well, like Ricky from Trailer Park Boys. He does that all the time, and he's no idiot. So he drives a car that only goes in reverse, you know. He does like, oh, this isn't rocket appliances,
And,
you know.
and Archie was totally the opposite in real life. All right, Mark. So let's end it with number 1 to you.
Okay, I don't think anyone's going to expect this one. I have Third Rock from the Sun,
I had it on my list,
That was a
actually.
great
1996 to 2001. It met the criteria.
Slid in under.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, and this show was special to me because it was on Wednesday nights. That was date night for me when I met my. Now we just had a 25th wedding anniversary this week, and this was the night she came over. She came over Wednesdays and Saturdays, and we just spent the entirety of every episode laughing. I just laughed and laughed and laughed. And, you know,
Great show.
the show was about aliens that come down in human form and they're trying to figure out our ways and everything. And Jonathan Lithgow.
John Lithgow.
He's great.
Yeah.
All right, whatever. I got it.
Incredible.
Jane Curtin.
Jane Curtin was her boyfriend. She never could figure it out. You know, what the hell is so wrong with him? And
Right.
and the sons and the daughter.
Oh, yeah.
Wayne Knight went, you know, of Newman
Yes,
fame. He went
yes.
out with the daughter, and I remember one time she sneezed, and Lithgow says, "What was that? I don't know, but I liked it." You know, and just they would end up every episode out on their roof.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At the
And
end,
discussing,
talking.
you know, like
So the big giant head. Was that their leader?
The big giant head.
Yeah, that's who they
Oh.
reported back to the big
Oh
giant
yeah,
head.
And it was just I can't say enough. I
Awesome.
laugh after laugh after laugh.
Awesome.
Cool.
Awesome, guys. Well, honestly, I thought we were going to have fewer repeats, believe it or not. Like, I really did. Like,
Fewer or more? You thought there'd be more.
I thought we were going to have fewer, believe it or not. Like,
Oh, really?
But yeah, one thing I did want to say was, like, I didn't think anyone else was going to have Batman.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You got to remember, we all come
And-
from kind of the same generation.
Right.
And you know what's funny is after all that, I forgot that I haven't even gone yet.
I was going to say, what is your number
But
one?
Yeah.
my number one is Taxi. So
Yeah.
I might as well not go anyway because we've talked about it so much. But just that cast to me, and I mean, everyone in that show I just loved. I mean, the obvious, of course, but God, Louis, I was one of the funniest
Such
people.
a great character.
Such a great actor. But anyway, and I had also in my notes the whole ABC to NBC thing. So
Yeah.
I thought that was very interesting. But I just wanted to go back real quick to Good Times because that was a spinoff of Maude,
Yes.
which was a spinoff from All in the Family.
Yes.
Right,
So,
right.
but I didn't dare
Right.
say it because I knew you at least were going to have Archie on
Right,
there, which is
right.
why I removed it from mine.
Or the Jeffersons.
yeah.
I was heartbroken. That was the one I was specifically talking about. So leaving off my list was Good Times. Sanford
Yeah.
and Son was another one.
See, I felt like Jefferson's was a hard one to not
Yeah.
list.
Well, they
because
got-
that was so
yeah.
great. Sherman Hemsley was just fantastic. And if you don't believe me, watch any clip of him dancing as George Jefferson. It
Yeah.
was freaking hilarious.
All right, boys. Well, that was great fun. I wanted to get this out there one more time. Our email address, and that is pastimes@80shigh@gmail.com. That is pastimes@80shigh@gmail.com. Anyway, Kevin, thank you so much for hosting and
My
the
pleasure.
beautiful pulled pork quesadillas.
Oh my God.
And Donald, thank you.
Thank
and
you.
Mark, thank you.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun, guys. And
All right, listeners, thank you for joining us, and we are out.
From Television City in Hollywood.
Temporary layoffs. Good times. Easy credit rip-offs. Good times. Scratching and surviving. Good times.
You've been listening to Pastimes at 80s High. Our passion is the nostalgia from the 70s, 80s, and early 90s. When times were more simple, times were more fun.
Hey, bud. Let's party.
And we weren't stuck in our phones all day.
Inconceivable.
We hope you've enjoyed the show. If you did, make sure to like, rate, and review. We'll be back soon, but in the meantime, you can send an email to pastimes@80shigh@gmail.com and hit the website at pastimes@80shigh.com. See you next time.
We came, we saw, we kicked its ass.